Hello, hello. Greetings and salutations, my friends. Sending you wonderfulness and happiness and positivity wherever you are. This is something that just came up for me, and I thought I'd just share. I was having a conversation, voice memo conversation, and so many of mine are these days. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I was sharing my current belief and what I believe has a way of thinking that has really assisted me over these years, these past few years, in experiencing really positive shifts. And that is that though I work to remain aware and conscious of challenges or potential negativity or things in my life, I currently dedicate a much more amount of my time, energy, resources, focus to positive things, like where I'm interested in going, who I'm interested in emulating, positive parts of me that I'm interested in expanding, or even if it's negative, if it's areas that I would like to strengthen, going about that with positive conditioning, as is reinforcing with positive words, positive thinking, instead of saying, I don't want to get angry with my family. I visualize the positive way that ideal Sam does interact with my family, or something like that. So I was having this conversation with him, and later I had an interaction with a very friendly Indian gentleman, as I have many times a day. Very many interesting conversations with people. And I am on an interesting experience for me. One that I've never had before is there are basically no white people in India that I have seen in the past 11 months. 12 months, excuse me. Yeah, I'm in the middle of Kolkata right now, which is 15 plus million people. I've been here for over 4 days, traipsing around the city, including going to the American embassy, and I have not seen one white person. And so, in general, that is a very interesting experience because, for the most part, people are very excited and positive. They are very happy to see. They're very interested in going in small towns and things. It may actually be, they may not see a white person for years, or little ones maybe never, or something. It's quite an experience to be something that different, and anywhere that I go, I'm having conversations with people. It doesn't matter if you're going to the park to relax or to disconnect or anything. It's going to happen. Very often people taking photos, asking to take photos with me and things like this. And also with some of the propaganda and fear around COVID, there is the, foreigners bringing COVID. Let me watch out for this person, or, let me treat them a little differently. And there is, for sure, what we would term as racism, as far as experiences that if they occurred to me in the U.S. or to anyone that I knew, whatever skin color or ethnicity they were, I'd be like, whoa, that happened to you? Like, that's overt racism. With hotels or other places refusing service, or the way that they're treating, or like this. It's just, I don't get spooled up about it. I know that people are where they are, and there's a lot of information going around. There's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of just whatever. I don't get that spooled up about it. But had this very nice conversation with a well-spoken Indian gentleman, a few years older than I, and during it, he brought up something that I have heard from multiple other Indians who have either been to the USA, live there currently and are back visiting India, or have family members or good friends in in the USA. And they have all shared that just positive things about their experience with Americans. How the Americans are very friendly, very accepting in the neighborhoods, they're helping them or working together or things like this. and how, yeah, sometimes they experience something similar about being foreigner or being of a different skin color or something, but for the most part, 2 different times I've heard this today, and I really like it. They say, yeah, 5 fingers on the hand, they're all different, just like when you have 5 different people, they're all going to be different, but for the most part, they're positive. The Americans are friendly and supportive. And as he shared that, it was wonderful to hear. And it also brought to my mind, to my awareness, that as much as I say things like, and as much as I think with my conscious mind that I'm about the positive conditioning, focusing on the positive, growing that, not focusing on the negative, for me currently, it's the classic what you resist persists. And so as much as I do not support in any way any sort of ism that subjugates or any way negatively impacts anyone else for any reason, I also don't believe that we need to fight racism or we need to, do these sorts of aggressive focusing on them and what a terrible thing this is. Let's fix this now. I think that just gives more energy to the thing that we're not interested in. And by definition, whatever it is that we're fighting, it has to exist for us to fight. And so even if that may seem theoretical, if I'm saying I'm fighting it, I am in some way perpetuating it. That's my belief. So as much as I say I would like to do the focus on the positive, instead of saying I'm going to fight racism, just living a life where I'm an example of accepting and loving everyone, no matter if they're any color or whatever, financial status or anything like that, sexuality, way that they look, whatever. I recognize that a good amount of these posts that I have made have been somewhat not true with that. They've been perhaps positive examples of things that are going on, but also in some ways kind of pointing out areas that I believe are negative or harmful or damaging with United States or with Western culture. And I think that it's very important, and I think that one of the reasons that the U.S. and the West in general is going through what to me is an existential crisis of whether or not we will survive with what we consider ourselves to be currently is because so much of our society and our population does not want to look at those damaging areas, doesn't want to look at how our medical system is created and running very efficiently at extracting money while not really helping people and causing even more anxiety and stress, or how many of the Western ideals that we have been taught to be so important are not actually giving fulfillment or happiness, and so we have the most addiction in history, the most amount of human beings locked in a cage in prison than any country in history, have more suicide, all of these negative things. I think that so many people are not willing to look at that because it means we can't blame that on someone else. It's us. I'm the one that is avoiding this feeling that I have inside where I'm not really fulfilled, or where I don't want to look at challenging parts of my life, and so I overeat, or I use another substance, or I'm just binging on whatever all the time. I'm the one that's doing that. I'm the policeman who is interacting in this way with people of other races, or I'm the person of other races who's interacting with the policeman in this way because I've created a story. Either one. We are these people. And so if we acknowledge that, we acknowledge the problems that currently exist or the opportunities for growth, then we also have to look at, I'm going to have to start making some action, and it can't just be action of me saying, screw you guys, you're terrible, you should change, because that doesn't work. So I believe that we can see that on both sides of this situation, whatever labels we use, Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, whatever, we see both sides blaming the others. And so I think that we're going down a pretty obvious path that can be expected from that. When we avoid, it doesn't matter what it is. So I've got a car, I've got a house, I've got a physical body, I've got a relationship. When I avoid acknowledging the areas where it's having challenge, the tire is flat, the roof has a hole in it, like I am eating lots of sugar and getting diabetes or anything like that, when I avoid it and blame it on something external, that external thing's not going to change and solve it for me. And so I'm going to experience the destruction of myself, and it's happening in our society, I believe. So as much as I believe that it's important to acknowledge that, because I think that assists us in seeing areas that we can improve, I do really think that it's important in just living the way that we really want to be, instead of just giving so much energy to these specific topics or issues or whatever, thing that we say is so bad right now. And so I just want to share that, as much as for some of us, it can seem like, man, we've got all these challenges and so much is going on right now. What's happening with the United States or with the West or with the world? We've got, climate change clearly happening. If you're from Michigan, it's definitely happening. Our experience in winter and summer is very different. If you're from these places like here, it's very easy to see the changes in weather, no matter what the cause. We've got all this stuff going on, what's happening in the White House, what's happening, all this stuff. And it can be very easy to get pretty pigeonholed and maybe even feel hopeless about, my goodness, the world is exploding right now. This is terrible. Wow, we need to fix all this stuff. But I can tell you, we've also got a lot of awesome stuff going on. And it might not be as loud and obvious or overt as some of these negative things, because it's just not as violent and aggressive. It's more loving and compassionate. But we have awesome stuff going on in the United States. We do support each other in many ways. We are incredibly inclusive compared to anywhere that I've been. I've never been to another country that has the type of melting pot that we have. As much as, everyone has all kinds of awesomeness and areas of potential improvement, but and the rights that we have, the freedoms, as much as we have so many rules and so much laws and like a lot of that going on, we also have all kinds of freedoms that, were possible to do things like have Burning Man and, things like this, or just books. And so anywho, I just share that with you. When I meet people in India, which is throughout the day, and they hear that I'm American, the response is positive. They very often say, oh, lovely country, lovely people. They have good memories, they have good interactions. The people who have been there, who have lived there, they have positive thoughts about the communities. We've got a lot of awesome stuff, and let's focus on that, and let's expand that. Let's build that even more. I love you guys. We're doing it together.